Hey everybody, I'm Charles Esten. I'm ready to blast off to the music universe.
I gotta tell you, buddy, today is I have like a list of people that I just really want to talk to. And for about going on probably 15 years now, I've wanted to interview this guy. Charles Esten is just the talent this guy has. He calls himself in the interview a jack of all trades and a master of none. And I wish I had like the Americans Got Talent button to like hit the X and get him to be quiet, because I'm like, that's not true. He has more
Right.
talent in his little pinky than most people who are celebrities do. The man is just insanely talented. And if you see him act in a comedy, you'd never know he's a singer. And if you listen to his records, you never know he's an actor. And I mean that as a compliment, because everything he does is just so full force and full throated and not half baked whatsoever. And it was an honor to get to talk to Charles Esten about his new album, Love Ain't Pretty. And you were smiling the whole time too.
Oh, his stories were just wonderful. I mean, great storyteller as well, as you'll hear in his music. But Love Ain't Pretty features 14 songs. It's due out independently January 26th. And he co-wrote each one. And there's some big name songwriters in there that we're going to discuss also in there. But, I didn't realize his background in improv. I know you probably mentioned it to me. And then the fact that he went to that and to the acting roles, and then we all know him most famously for Deacon Claiborne and ABC and CMT's Nashville for 6 years. And I just loved loved that show. I loved his character. I was conflicted with his character just because it was, an up and down thing, but it's such great acting, and he's such a great actor. And of course, so you had to talk about Outer Banks, which is a completely opposite role of what you would expect him to be, but love that show as well. And just a super nice guy. Love the interview we had with him, about 20 22 minutes, so a full sitcom episode, if you will. Link with Charles Esten right here on the Music Universe.
An exciting one today. I've been a fan of this guy going back to high school. Charles Esten, how are you, sir?
I'm so good, Matt. Great to be with you in your universe.
Well, it's great to have you here at the Music Universe. I want to start. We're going to talk about Love Ain't Pretty here in just a minute. But like I said, I've been a fan. I went to performing arts high school. We studied Whose Line. And then Nashville got me through college. That was required viewing every week. So I am very curious about the journey from comedic improv actor to dramatic actor, and now I think over the last several years, country music star. I mean, is that something you saw in the cards when you started out as an entertainer?
I never really looked at cards. I didn't know what was coming at all. I just some of the things that happened were just, in retrospect, they were all sort of meant to be, and they all added up to this thing that is today. The music was first, honestly, though.
Mm.
When I was a kid, I was always writing little jingles or songs. In third grade, I wrote our class song. I won a contest to write the class song. So then off in college, I was playing music, and I probably would have stuck with that band if like Hootie and the Blowfish, if we had stuck together like they did, we might have kept going. They all went on to be doctors and lawyers and stuff. So I thought maybe I'll go out to Hollywood and see what I can do out there. I always figured somehow I'd get the music and the acting to work together eventually. I thought I'd get another band, honestly. So I'd have this band while I did the acting. But what really happened was the very first thing I did was a job playing Buddy Holly in London. So put the guitar back on, started singing like Buddy. While I'm in London, I hear about this little show that nobody I knew had ever heard of called Whose Line Is It Anyway? This improv show wasn't even on the States yet. And so I went and auditioned for that in England thinking, who's ever going to see this thing? And little did I know that I would get on it and it would turn out to be this juggernaut, this sort of cultural thing that people would come up to me years later. And also that, honestly, that helped pay for my early days with my kids and everything while I was waiting to also hopefully get to do that other type of acting as well. So in retrospect, I look at it and I'm just an extremely fortunate guy that I can sort of do a bunch of things. That old jack of all trades, master of none. it's kind of me. And there's other folks that just, this is the thing they do, and they do it at an excellent level. I've always, honestly, I sort of rued that. I always wanted to be that Springsteen with one way out of that town, and it's just this music. But I have, for better or for worse, these other talents that keep me busy along the way. I think by now I've gotten old and wise enough to be grateful for that, and that's just who I am. And so that all shows up in the music as well. All that goofy chip is in there, and all that dramatic actor as well. That's all part of who I am.
I love it. Well, Master of None, I disagree. This album, Love Ain't Pretty, is pretty masterful. Can you talk about the genesis of this? I know you released us. You did the every Friday or every Sunday singles for an entire year, and now we have a Charles Esten full length record. Really cool.
Well, thank you so much. That means a whole lot to me. I think, as I was saying, over these years in college, I was singing other people's songs in their voice. I was doing Buddy Holly and his voice on Whose Line. As you know, they would go, "We want you to sing this song in the style of Neil Diamond or in the style of U2." So you're doing other people's voices for a long time. Part of the journey of any artist is finding out, all right, who am I then? And Nashville is a beautiful place to get to do that because you're surrounded. I had this great producer named Marshall Altman, and these incredible players around me who get to follow our lead and bring these songs to life in a way we had imagined, but beyond that because of their great talents. And so much of this has been stripping away those impressions and those other folks to find out what it is I want to say, who I am, and what I want to say. Now, those things have been influenced along the way. There's so much of this music, I would think you would agree that Deacon Claiborne could have sung that one.
Yeah.
And in a way he did, because I played him. And I was fortunate enough to get to write 3 songs for Deacon on the show Nashville. So that overlap is there. But it's very strange to have a debut album at this late point in someone's life. But to me, it's all for the better. It means I have things I've thought about that I want to say, and in a certain way I want to say them, and that all comes together in Love Ain't Pretty.
Well, it took about 10 years to release and make, and you've co-wrote every song on it, which is 14. Congrats on that. Why now? What made you want to release it now, and these 14 songs were chosen?
Well, it's so funny because for most people, why now is why not earlier, why not later? It's clear why not later. I had better release this thing by now. So the real question to me is why not sooner? And then I've thought a lot about that because I did release 54 singles in 54 weeks starting in 2016. That labor of love turned out to be a world record. So I've released plenty of music, but why not an album form? And I think the answer is I grew up loving albums so much. I hold them in such high regard that I think there needs to be a there. For me, it's not just, these are the 14 songs I've recorded most recently. It was put them on an album and put them out. I think I look at them, maybe because I'm an actor, I look at them like a movie. And the first song is the first scene. And then comes the second scene. And then so you're telling a story along the way. That doesn't mean every scene's exactly the same. Like if you I'll pull out a movie that I love, Jaws. There's a scene out on the beach where it's all sunny and it's energy, and then there's the other one later in the boat where it's dark and they're so they all hold together, even though they're not all the same. That's what I was looking for: is what are these songs that can be very different, show facets of me, but also you get the through line. A lot of it seemed to me to be procrastinating, and maybe it was. But in the end, I'm glad for it. I like a meal I like a crock pot meal more than I like a microwaved meal. I like one that stew, the juices have been getting, you understand the message, it's all going together. So I could have done it sooner, and there was a time where I felt bad that I hadn't. But I think I go, no, this was the right timing.
Yeah, and you
Wonderful.
have some teamed up with some pretty big songwriters here. Gary Burr and of course another country artist, Eric Pasley. You have a song with him called "Down the Road" on there. Is songwriting
I
kind
have
of
two
like
with Eric.
your
Also have two with Eric. Also have Candlelight. And he
yeah?
sings on that one, but I also wrote Candlelight with Eric and Kenny Alfin from Big and Rich. I'm sorry. What was your
Oh.
question?
No, no, no. That's great. I was going to ask, is songwriting kind of like your bread and butter, and then you get to kind of go out and like turn it into a movie, so to speak?
I think that songwriting. If people ask, "What do you like the most? What do you enjoy?" Because I get to do all these things. I get to act in these great shows and go to these. I think if I'm honest, on most days, being in a room creating a song is there's something incredible still to me about, and to most of the people I know. I always think it's almost like a magic trick. Like there's
Hmm.
nothing there. I've shown you the hat. There's nothing in it, and then I go, you go, or I don't go. Whoever does it does that. Um, what's funny about it is it's a magic trick where look, if I hate to take away your illusions, but when a magician does a magic trick, they know how it happens. We don't, but they know how it happens. But songwriting to me is a magic trick where the magician doesn't even know how it happens. Like and you know all your techniques, you know where words go, but when a song comes out that's bigger than you are, bigger than you imagine, you don't. It's like ta-da, and then you also go, I swear to God, I have no idea how we just did that. That's exciting. So
Yeah.
that's the part I love. I do love the most. Second to that is getting to stand there with that song and sing it to an audience and go, okay, this is a thing that either I on my own or I and a couple other folks crafted that we think is a legitimate, interesting view of human behavior or human feeling. In this moment, you are testing whether that is true. I'm going to sing this, and it either resonates or it doesn't. You can sing a song and go, oh, I really thought this would connect. And then there's another one that you thought there was nothing there, and you can just feel it come back at you. So between those two things of writing it and going, is there any there? That's exciting stuff. I love it.
And if I could piggyback off of that, when that happened with Nashville, with the show, and I don't mean the show, when that happened with the music in Nashville, I mean, you can't get off stage. I don't think you can get off stage without singing Like New. Certainly, there were songs that Claire had, Sam had, Chris had that everybody wanted to hear in those live shows. Was it surprising to you that music presented in a fictional TV format made that exact leap that you're talking about? That it's the music that connected with people as much as the characters.
I don't think it did surprise me because we had all seen examples of it before. Nashville was rather new in the way we did it, and the fact that that was all our voices put in a fictional storyline. Here's us singing these actual songs. But there'd been other things, whether it was I thought even earlier Grey's Anatomy, the way the music of those songs, whether it was Chasing Cars or whatever, that was an early one where they were really playing some hit songs that the song made the scene resonate even more, and vice versa. Then when you hear that song, somehow the song resonates even more because there was and they weren't even singing it. So then later, as I remember at first, I knew what I had done, the scenes I had done, but when you do a pilot, I'm not sitting there watching other people shoot their scenes. So when I heard Sam and Claire um, sing if I didn't know better. That song that they sang in the Bluebird, that pilot episode. When I heard that song in the setting of what we knew about their two characters, I instantly thought, "Oh, there's something here. There's something here." I never could have imagined that the quality of the music would have stayed so high. It's like 20, was it 22 episodes or 26 episodes a year, and you would have maybe 3 4 songs a show. You would expect some of them to be real clunkers. Nope. I can go back and listen to anything there, and they can sing anything, and I'm right back in that place. So that showed me. I had an inkling of the power of that, but I didn't really know fully how strong that could be made to work together.
Yeah.
And was that a prerequisite to joining Nashville? Was it like you have to be able to sing?
Oh yeah, for any of the characters that were artists, definitely. And that was part of my audition. I went in there with a guitar. I'm trying to remember if I sang first or did scenes first, but first I think I did my scenes first, and then I sang a couple songs as Deacon, and um, and that was true with everybody. A funny story about that. I remember at that audition, it was in Los Angeles, and it actually I got there, and this kind of magic happens. Does this ever happen with you guys, where something in your life that matters? There's these little coincidences that go together. This one was nuts. I show up for that first audition, and I realize it's not in the same, only in the same building. It's on the same floor, same hallway that used to be my dressing room for Whose Line Is It Anyway? So
Wow.
that feels like God winking at me. I got you, boy. So I go down the hall into that same hallway, and I go in there. I do my scenes, and then I sing a song. And when I come to the door, when I come out the door, it's Hayden Panettiere had her ear to the door, and she pulls away, and she's like, and I have never met her. I just knew Save the Cheerleader, Save the World. I knew her from Remember the Titans. I was a fan. And she was like, oh, that was so good. She was so sweet. I couldn't believe how kind she was. And then jokingly, as I said goodbye, I said, well, I'll see you on the set. And I was just blowing hot air. And then maybe a month later, we show up in Nashville, and she goes, see you on the set. It was cool. It was magic.
I
Wow.
love it. Real quick, I know we're wrapping here. I got one more question about Nashville. Then he has a question about a certain Netflix show, and then we'll wrap. But speaking of Nashville, you just did some reunion shows. Any chance of that expanding, or maybe in this day and age where fan favorite things are finding new homes on streaming or at other networks? I know CMT rescued it from ABC, but anything percolating in the Nashville verse that we should
Well,
be aware of?
the tour did so incredibly well, not just in terms of bankability and being profitable and all, but more truly from a perspective of that fan response, just being in those rooms, which none of us, it was Sam, Claire, Jonathan, and Chris and I, and we had not one of us had any right to expect that 5 years on that same amount of a connection would be there. We were all blown away. We were blown away to just feel that they're singing along to the songs. So it's all still there. So to me, that aspect of it, something's going to continue with that world. There's no way. We all love it so much. We love each other so much. We love the music so much. That would be enough. But if the audience wasn't still loving it, then who cares? They're loving it. So some form of that, something will happen. Personally, I wish we could just we got to play here at the Ryman Auditorium, which is the stage where we finished the show Nashville. For me, I wish we could do that at least annually, just have a Ryman show at the bare minimum. And then hopefully go visiting other places as well, get on the road. As to the show, as to a reboot and restreaming, I saw what happened to Suits on Netflix. I think, hey, Netflix, there's a little show called Nashville that might do pretty well, too. So I think they should get that. In terms of reboots or starting again or bringing it back, it'd be incredibly difficult to do. First of all, spoiler alert, our Raina was so vital and crucial to that. But the other part of that is the answer that I give, and it's legitimately how I feel, is that this song built up a bank account of goodwill, good feeling, good emotion, good memories that is so unassailable with its fan base that it would be very easy for us to create something that drew from that account, that borrowed from it, that took money out of that account. I never want to do that. The only way that I would ever even remotely imagine doing something like this, and I can't imagine it right now, is if I thought, no, this is going to add to the account. This is going to make it even more special. I can't imagine how that would work or what that would be, but that would be truly the only way I would do that. And in the meantime, we don't have to do that. We have all that music. You can go stream it. It's all right there. So I'm grateful beyond words for that show.
Yeah, Nashville was something special, and I think we all were sad what happened to Raina, but you continued to go on, and we have to talk about Ward Cameron. I'm sitting here talking to him. He's such a nice guy in person, such a villain on the show, but it's such a great show. What is that like getting to film that? And could we possibly see maybe some of your own music be intertwined in there? I know you don't sing on it, but they play music, of course.
Well, first of all, it doesn't. It's not going by me that I'm sitting at the desk I was at when I got a phone call from the Pate brothers, Josh and Jonas, and Shannon Burke, all on speakerphone, asking me if I just offering me the role of the father on this show, Outer Banks. And what they wanted to tell me is. It's the first 2 or 3 or 4 episodes. You seem like a pretty normal father. It escalates after there, and things get a little wild. So I'm right where I was when I got that incredible phone call. Because honestly, in this business, if you get a really great role like Deacon, I've watched television a long time. Very few people get one role like that, let alone more after that. Generally, what they try to do is they go, "Hey, we want you to come play Deacon Light, some version of Deacon that's not quite as great as Deacon." So this was so different to get to play this guy who had all these facets. Yeah, he's the bad guy, but you can tell he loves his family, especially his daughter Sarah. So it's funny. I'm sitting right here. This was the hat I wore in the final episodes in the jungle.
Yep.
So that's my Ward Cameron hat in the pouring rain there. I just realized
Awesome.
Yeah. Whether any of my music ends up on it, I don't know. It's a bit of a younger vibe, but and the music on that show is fantastic. But hey, I'm not going to say no, so I'll just keep writing. I'll send them a couple things. We'll see what happens.
There you go. I burn through him. Matt's someone who will take his time. I will just burn through him in a weekend
Binge.
or a day and tell everybody to leave me alone.
Because then I'm like, okay, this is referencing something from 3 hours ago, and you got to savor it because then these things they only come out once a year.
You're like a hunter gatherer going through the woods looking for berries. Generally, you're like he's a baleen whale that just goes through the ocean with plankton. I need more content.
Yeah, but then I do forget what happened previously because it's been a year since they aired.
Oh boy, my memory helps me with that. I can watch my own shows and I'm watching, but oh my god, I forget that happened. So that's good.
Yeah. Real quick, about to let you go, but road dates this year. Where can fans come and see you? You're always on the road. You're always out here by me, Birchmere. You do that once a year, and
absolutely, what a joy that is to go back to my hometown of Alexandria and play that iconic venue, the Birchmere. That happens every year. It tends to switch back and forth. It was during Thanksgiving this year, around Thanksgiving. So next year I'll be back at the Birchmere around Christmas, for sure, around Christmas time. You can go to charlesesten.com, see all the dates. I'm getting ready to go do a European solo tour to play these. It's the Love Ain't Pretty tour, and I'm going to be in Edinburgh and Glasgow and London at the Palladium, and then I'm going to be going to the Netherlands and to Oslo and Copenhagen. And so some new places I've never been before, getting to play there. Coming back here, I already got some dates scheduled in Florida, Texas. I'm going to try to get up north as soon as it warms up a little bit. So there's a lot coming. Please, follow if you care and want to know, follow on the socials or go to charlesesten.com.
Love Ain't Pretty. It is a top tier country music record, singer-songwriter record, following you internationally to Europe. And when that show gets announced at Birchmere, folks, buy the tickets if you want to see him. It sells out. There are some shows that they hold back press tickets so that crazy people like me can go and write it up. There are some shows that sell out completely and there's no room. Last 2 years, there's not been any room because it goes so quick. So
you call me, you're getting in no matter what, for sure. I want to see you again. We'll get to shake hands there, Matt. Thank you, bro.
Okay, thank you. Please, everybody, charlesesten.com, like you said, follow him. It's this music career springing up from the acting career and Nashville and Whose Line and everything. It's just been so much fun to watch. Chip, thank you so much. This was a pleasure.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, buddy. Take care.
All right, thanks.
That album, again, is Love Ain't Pretty, and it is out exactly a week from today if you're listening to this on launch date, January 26th, 2024. It's already pre-added onto this phone to go with all the other
There you
Charles
go.
Esten music. I have Nashville and Not. I have stuff from that 54 song weekend, every week songs,
Yeah.
and some other stuff that he's done, and of course the Deacon Claiborne material, which I think the secret to Nashville. Because did you ever go see the concert? Did it ever? I'm sure it played Bakersfield. Did you ever go?
Never had a chance to see it.
I went 4 times. Because each time the cast was a little bit different.
Right.
And what was cool was in New York City, the theater that they were in would change based on the popularity of the show. So the first year was just at the small venue. I don't know what it's called there now. It's in Times Square. It's next to Junior's. It used to be called PlayStation Theater or Best Buy Theater. Just a little half GA, half seated thing. Bought a ticket, got to go. Next year, they were at Beacon Theater, and I did the hashtag Beacon for Deacon. And then, and the next year, they were at Madison Square Garden in the theater.
Wow.
And then the next year, they played Ford Amphitheater out in Brooklyn on Coney Island. So each year, the venue they were at just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was every year related to, except for one, it was every year related to the end of my school year in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a cool way to celebrate finals being done and going to see the show and going to see him. And then I went to see Charles at City Winery in New York one day. I went to see him, and Colin was with him. And Colin was the musical director for the tour and and did a lot of stuff on the show. You'd recognize him. He's the hat.
Yeah.
Colin Linden, there's the last name, was just excellent. And I met both of them because Chip hung around and did an impromptu meet and greet. And somehow I ended up downstairs in the dressing rooms talking with Colin for like
of course you
20
did.
minutes. So it was just awesome. It's just been awesome following, because the music just, like I said, has a life of its own. And so to have him, and he said it, there's really no difference. But I got on a tangent. The reason he can say there's really no difference, you could see some songs Deacon would do, is I think the secret to that show is everybody was pretty much cast to type and to who they really might be outside of character. Except, I would say Hayden Panettiere is probably nicer than Juliet Barnes, and Raina and Connie Britton, I think, is a little bit nicer and a little less full of herself than the Raina character had to be at times. But for all of those touring musicians who really then went out and did things among the real world and made a name for themselves as artists, I think their characters were really close to who they were on stage, and I think that just added to the magic of that show. And like he said, I hope something continues musically from that.
Yeah,
and to mention his solo tour.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember, but when ABC canceled it, fans rallied to bring it back, and that's when CMT renewed it for 2 more seasons. It's been was a great run. I don't like how Raina was killed off, but I know she wanted out of the contract, and that was really the only way to do it, because she wasn't going to leave, her family.
But they gave her, but I will say, they gave her a beautiful death.
Yes.
It wasn't just like, oh, you don't want to return? Okay, goodbye. We're going to just kill you off screen and not deal with it. They let her act her heart out, and it was beautiful. And but bringing this back around to Chip and his music, it's fantastic. So glad he gets to have a debut album. The fans that love him and follow him and listen to all those 54 songs and go to those shows, they've been wanting a cohesive project from him for a long time. And I'm so glad he finally did it. And I honestly, even though this isn't even out as we're recording it, I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to see who he teams up with next, and maybe a Nashville reunion album with him taking the tentpole position, and then Sam and Claire and Chris and everybody and Aubrey and everybody can come in.
You never know. Reunions are a thing that everything is hot right now with reunions, so you just never know.
So, well, For the Music Universe podcast, I'm Matt, and I could go on all day about Chip in Nashville.
And we could have talked to him all day because he was such a cool guy. And I'm Buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening and watching. Be sure to hit like, subscribe, and share, and check us out at The Music Uni, as well as themusicuniverse.com. Take care.